Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome again to Take 5. Let's jump right in. So, we're talking about the call of Abram in Genesis chapter 12, and the title of our message this week was Incoming Call. And we're just talking about this idea of calling and how I don't believe it's a singular event, something that happens only to people who are called into ministry offices or something that happens one time in somebody's life. I think it's something that often happens in our life. The truth is, I believe God is always calling you and me to Him. From one end of the Bible to the other, in every story that you read, you can see instances where God is calling someone to Him or someone to come closer to Him. You see it in this story with Abram. He is living in a idolatrous nation. He's living in a nation where the people worship idols, and they were very well known for their worship of idols. His father's family was very well known for their worship of idols. And so God comes to Abram and says, Abram, I want you to leave this land and I want you to come follow me, come closer to me. That's not the only time. I mean, there are other instances throughout the Bible, like Moses, right? God called Moses in the middle of that burning bush to go back to Egypt and to rescue his people from slavery. Then there are men like David. God called David several different times, drawing him back to himself. I mean, God was always doing something in David's life, trying to get David to come closer to Him. Then there's Adam. The Bible said that when Adam and Eve lived in the Garden of Eden, that God walked amongst them every day. And then that one time, right after they had sinned and eaten of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the Bible said that God came walking through the garden, calling for Adam, calling his name, calling to him for him to come meet with him. You can see all throughout the Old Testament, all throughout Israel's story as a nation, their story, when from the time they leave Egypt and their entire journey through the wilderness, and even once they get into the promised land, you can see where they would serve God for one season. The next season they would walk away from God and begin to live in sin and begin to live in rebellion to God. And God would send a plague upon them, or He would do something disastrous in their life to call them, to convict them to come back to Him. And maybe the greatest example throughout the entire Bible of calling is when Jesus walked by Peter and He walked by the rest of those disciples while they were fishing and collecting taxes and doctoring on people and doing all of their things. And He just walked by them and said, hey, come follow me. Leave what you're doing. Leave your occupation. Leave your world and your families. Leave it all. Come follow me. Come learn who I am. Come get to know me. Come closer to me. The Bible talks several times of how God calls us unto Himself, but two notable times happen in the New Testament. Once in John chapter 12, Jesus is talking to His disciples, and He says this, He says, I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people unto myself. Jesus is talking about His crucifixion and how He'll be raised from the dead and the whole story there. But Jesus says, in the middle of all of that, I'll draw all people unto myself. And then in Revelation chapter 3, Jesus again is speaking. He's talking to the church of Laodicea. He's talking to Christian people. And Jesus says, behold, I stand at the door and I knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and eat with him and he with me. Jesus said, I'm knocking. I'm calling you to the door. I'm trying to get you to come close to me. I'm trying to get you to come open the door to your life and let me in so I can commune with you, so you can come closer to me, so I can change your life. The truth is, I don't believe calling is a one-off experience that only people who are called into the ministry experience. I think calling is something that happens all the time, almost every day of our life, in every one of our lives. He's calling some of you right now as you watch this video. He's calling you to come closer to Him, to draw near to Him. And again, I'm not talking about Him calling you into ministry. I would be willing to bet that 90% of you, 99% of you probably, God's not calling you into the ministry of some kind. but He is calling you to come closer to Him. He may be calling you to quit certain sins that you've been living with in your life. He may be calling you to start reading your Bible on your own every day. He may be calling you to spend more time in prayer with Him. He may be calling you to get more engaged in your worship services when you're at church. He may be calling you to be more faithful in your church attendance, or to take notes while the preacher is preaching so that you can actually learn and remember what he's talking about. He may be calling you to back down from some of the time you spend on certain hobbies so that you have more time to spend with Him. He may be calling you to back down from spending so much unnecessary time at work, making that overtime so that you can buy things that you enjoy. He may be calling you to spend some time or to stop spending so much unnecessary time at work so you can spend time with Him. The list could go on and on and on. I don't know what He's calling you to do. I don't know what He's drawing you to do. But I do know this: He's calling you to come closer to Him. The question today is, what's He calling you to do? And will you answer? Chew on that today as you go about today. I hope you have a great day today. I'll see you again right here tomorrow on Take 5.